I did not have sexual relations with that woman.
Yes or no? Did you ever take banned substances to enhance your cycling performance?
Yes.
I had no prior knowledge of the planned assault on Nancy Kerrigan.
I am deeply sorry for my irresponsible and selfish behavior I engaged in.
All right, here we go. Let's dial it in. Another episode of Oops the Podcast. Excited to be here with Giulio Gallerati.
Dialed in, ready to go.
You know,
Gallerati.
a lot of people screw up your name because of your Instagram handle.
I mean, this is the thing that I don't understand about that. It's like it says not Julio. Directly underneath that, it says my name spelled out how it is. Is it not obvious? Is the joke not obvious?
If you put Julio anywhere, everyone's going to start thinking that. That's just in their brains.
I don't understand it, but
it's like if you put a
apparently.
chocolate cake in a workout facility.
It's definitely not like that.
Everyone's looking at that chocolate cake. That's
not
all
like
we're
that.
looking at.
Dude, it's funny. Whenever I eat relatively healthy, I can't watch like the Great British Baking Show. It just starts like brutalizing my brain, and I just get like sad.
Well, I've never watched that show.
Hill Dog loves it.
A lot of people love it.
We watch it. I like it, but the food is just too delicious looking, bro.
Mm-hmm.
It's brutal.
Mm-hmm.
It's fucking brutal.
Well, some people have been asking me about the story of how we met.
Dude, me too.
And I thought we had kind of covered
it
on the podcast, but if you're new, I think we can tell it quickly.
Okay.
Let's tell it quickly.
It's not that good of a story, to be honest.
It's not that great.
It's okay. But no,
It's
actually,
fine.
this is, what's funny? Whenever I've told it to people, they actually think it is a good story.
Really?
Which is interesting because I'm like, is it? I think they're like, wow, the comedy world's so small. Like that's typically what people gather from it, which I guess is a thing that you might not know.
The origin, people love, everyone is so willing to think fondly of origin stories.
So dude, okay.
And people give them the benefit of the doubt, especially when it comes to dating and whatnot.
You want me to just tell it from my POV?
Yeah,
and
you
then
tell
can
it
fill
from
in
your
the cracks?
POV.
Okay,
Give
so
us your POV, I'll give my POV.
So, okay. So first of all, I had been bumping into Francis a reasonable amount. Francis did a gig with Ricky.
That's the origin
That's where
story.
we met the first time. Francis rode up on a city bike. It was almost like the beginning of a romance novel. There he was, my knight in shining armor, riding up on his horse. Good day there, fair maiden. I was like, ooh. But no, anyway, so Francis was city biking. They went to this gig. We chilled for a sec. Then whatever. And then I just started seeing Francis everywhere. We did this show, the Rye Daddy, the infamous Rye Daddy early show.
What was that?
At New York Comedy Club. 5 p.m., like this matinee show. This guy Rye Daddy's a legend, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
He just does a lot of comedy while drinking a lot. And because he runs the show, he's sort of allowed to do it. So never has a guy performed under the influence that regularly with no repercussions.
Mm-hmm.
I think we can leave it at that. But you should check him out too. Anyway, so I bumped into Francis there. I bumped into Francis at Caroline's. Then we were at the stand. I bumped into Francis, and I was with Hill Dog actually. And Francis had just been going through his controversy. And he sort of ran the idea by us about how he was thinking about doing a podcast, whatever. We hung out, we were talking, whatever. Then a few days later, I remember I'm walking into the gym and I get a phone call from Francis. And I remember I was about to begin working out, and then I was like, oh, this is interesting. I'll step out to take this call.
Whoa.
So I stepped outside. I stepped outside of the gym. Francis calls me. He's like, I have this crazy idea.
Crazy.
He's like, like I told you, I'm thinking about doing this podcast.
Yeah, that's how I talk.
My impression of you.
Yeah, I do talk. I very over enunciate. Yeah.
And then he's like, I feel like we would be good together. Maybe. He's like, I got a hunch. So why don't we give it a shot? And if we think it's good, we'll do it. And if not, then no big deal. We can go our separate ways. And I remember thinking, I was like, man, I have anxiety about the idea of it not going well. But like, I thought it went well and he didn't. And then he's like, I don't think that went well. And I was like, then I would feel really bad about myself. I was like, but that's really the only risk here. Besides that, I think, and then we went to the Spotify HQ and we did a little trial episode and we agreed that it was good. And then we started doing it. That's my side of the story.
That is, there are elements there that I did not know,
That's probably the most comprehensive
which is kind of
explanation
fun.
we've ever given.
But I have some holes to fill in.
Yeah, no,
I
I'm
have
excited to hear
some places to sew some patches to embroider. The first part is that that original meeting was I had Ricky Velez agreed to open for me at a corporate gig at Chelsea Piers, which was a holiday party for a small company, which I had been booked for based on a relationship that I was in. My then girlfriend's dad had a business friend who was doing a holiday party and wanted a comedian, and he gave him my name, and so I got booked for it. But even that's not the full story, because originally they had booked me to come to their company retreat in Captiva, I think, in Florida. It was a Ritz.
Sick.
And I was going to come down for the weekend. They were going to pay me $10,000.
Oh my God.
And I would spend 2 nights and just do one set at the
God.
Ritz. And to this day, it was probably the sickest gig I'd ever been booked for. But then in the interim, the girl and I broke up, and then they told me they weren't doing the company retreat anymore, but he wanted to book me for this smaller holiday party in New York. And at that holiday party with Ricky, I learned that they had done the company retreat,
Wow.
and I had lost the gig because I had broken up with his buddy's daughter.
Wow. Savage. So petty.
Yeah.
You should have had a
And-
clause in the contract to protect you from that.
But he wanted to, he felt bad, and that he booked me to do their smaller holiday party, for which they paid me, $2,000, which still
Nice,
super
yeah.
good gig for a New
For
York
sure.
City night, whatever.
Sure.
But Ricky opened for me, and this was during a time when you talk about people who are new in comedy or newer in comedy and don't really know the ropes. This was at a time when I didn't really know the sort of bureaucracy or unwritten rules, I guess. And I was asking comedians who were significantly better than me to open for me. And then I was paying them a lot of money.
So I don't know that violates any sort of unwritten rule, to be
Well,
honest.
there's, I think Ricky was really cool about it. Ricky's just a much better comedian than I am. And at that time was eons ahead of me, but was always willing and great. So to say that he was opening for me is really putting the cart before the horse. I mean, he was the better act of the two of us. And, but there's a negative to me, which is that to be outshined by your opener doesn't exactly bode well for your set.
Potentially true, but I would argue that in a gig like that, it's typically such an unusual setup that's kind of a neutralizer.
Mm-hmm.
So it's low risk.
Yeah, maybe that's true. It was a tough gig. It was really tough.
But I'll say this, dude, I respect that. I think people who micromanage their openers are losers, dude. It's who cares? It doesn't matter. You know what I mean? So you being okay, I'm going to have this guy who, you say is further ahead than you and whatever, such a strong act, good for you. Who gives a shit? Fuck it.
Yeah, I want to believe that in theory, but I will tell you that coming out, and if you're in the green room and you hear the person in front of you just crushing the house, you get a little bit nervous.
Dude, I've done that before too, and I still overall look at it as a net positive. There have been times where I have people open for me who do significantly better than me, and gives a shit.
I brought Alex Pavone with me one time.
He just murdered.
It was
too
a
hard.
mistake. He crushed so hard that
Was this in Philly?
Yeah,
Dude, I've had Pavone open for me before too, and he also destroyed to a level that I was
it was not
who
comfortable.
gives a shit, dude?
Well, because then you have to be up there for 45 minutes.
Right.
And you start, and their expectations are higher for you than they were for the opener, because they think, oh, this is the opener, it can only go up from here.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a slow bleed out, a
Dude, it's
slow
also-
cooling. It's
this
like
is the
leaving a
thing.
turkey on the counter.
That's true, but it's also set up for that scenario. The feature doesn't have to do as much time. Like the amount
audiences don't know those
I know.
nuances.
I know, but like inevitably the amount of times I've heard, oh, the guy before him was maybe even better than him.
Correct.
It's like you can't escape that no matter what.
That's true. That's true. I remember seeing Aziz in Boston at the Wilbur, and everyone was saying that the opener had been better than he was.
Who was the opener?
I can't remember,
There you go.
but
No one ever remembers the fucking opener, dude.
fair enough. I can't remember, but to Giulio's point, doing 15 minutes is just so much easier than doing 45 because
It's so easy,
you
dude.
do your best jokes.
Yeah.
You get to play the hits. Anyway, we did that gig. It was not a good gig. They were these people who work together clearly felt obligated to come to this holiday party. It was not a cheerful, festive gathering of coworkers. It was an obligation. And it felt like something bad had happened on the way to the gig for all these people. Like someone had been fired or their quarterly earnings came out below projections. Whatever it was, they were not receptive. Ricky, being the great comedian that he is, went up there, tried to do his material. They didn't care. And he was just like, fuck it. Fuck you people, basically. I know I'm better than the reception I'm getting right now. And he jumped early.
Really?
I think I said, why don't you do 20 minutes? And I think he did 15. And halfway, he'd sort of finished a joke and he was like, all right, Francis, why don't you come up here because I don't like these people. Said something like that. And I was like, all right, hello, everybody. And I went up and I basically just did crowd work the whole time because I knew if they weren't going to be very receptive to material, there's just no point in beating them over the head with it. And that sort of loosened them up a little. But anyway, you came for the first few minutes of that gig and we walked to Chelsea Piers together.
Yes.
And I remember thinking, who's this guy? Who's this handsome fellow? Giulio. Interesting. Then we didn't see each other for a bit. And then we started to do that. It was that phenomenon.
Yes.
Like when a word comes up for the first time.
Yes.
And then you start to hear it everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
What's the name of that?
There's a couple of names for it, but Bader-Meinhof.
There you go.
There's a couple of names for it though. There's like another name. We've covered this before.
You were the Bader-Meinhof
Bader,
of that winner for me.
Right.
So that happened, and then we started seeing each other more and more. And I learned, as I've said, I think I've told this part before, but I learned that everyone liked Giulio, which is a very rare card to have as a comedian.
Appreciate that.
And then I met Hillary one night with you, and you had brought your, lovely girlfriend who's not in comedy, nor has any desire to be in comedy, to a club.
Mm-hmm.
And you guys were social and fun. And I remember thinking, okay, well, that's unusual because I'm somebody who, dates non-comedians and likes to be social and whatever. So that I thought, okay, well, that's similar to me. And then
did you think like, oh, maybe our girlfriends would get along?
I hadn't gone that far, and it's also possible that I wasn't even dating Sierra yet.
Right, and can I include this detail? Like, I believe Hillary is going to Sierra's bachelorette.
Literally.
Literally.
I didn't know if you knew that.
Yeah.
She just told me today.
I know. Isn't that awesome?
I mean, what are the odds of that?
What are the odds of that?
What are we doing here? We're bringing people together. Wow. I mean, come on.
Home run.
That's, if you want to talk about the great British Bake Off, that's the great American friendship bake off right there. Bringing people together. So fun.
That's too funny, bro.
So, yeah, I mean, couldn't have scripted it better.
It's pretty
We
good.
did our test episode, went great, went well enough, and off we went. And, I've always said, but you take a risk, and there's two or three things that could have really derailed this podcast in the early going. One, if Giulio or Chris had not had the work ethic that they do, you don't know how consistently people are going to show up. You don't know how much they believe in the project. You don't know if they're flaky, if they're going to be, texting you the morning of a recording day and saying, "Hey guys, pretty hungover or not feeling well. Can we bump to tomorrow?" And that just didn't happen. And that is so important to getting anything off the ground.
Well, dude, but you too. Like you also.
Yeah, but I knew myself.
Got it. You knew you.
I didn't know you guys.
Right. True.
I knew that I would be. I had to. I had no choice. I was on my own. And I had to make up income out of nothing. But that was the first thing, was that you guys immediately bought in completely. And the second part was that you were, I didn't know how funny necessarily you were. I didn't know how nice and like I didn't know how good our chemistry would be. And all of those things just were there without me even knowing it. So it was there was a lot of luck involved, I think, in the whole assembly of the team.
It's one of those things where if it didn't work out, people would have been like, "Well, what did you expect? You barely knew this guy."
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, and that is like maybe not fair. Like, I think that we didn't like not know each other at all. Like if I saw Fran, we would see each other around and we would talk and hang out. Like, but in comedy that's like a common thing. So you'll have a bunch of these people who, if you run into them, you'll be like, "Hey, what's up?" But then you wouldn't like chill with them outside of comedy.
Let me add this wrinkle. So last night I had the apartment to myself. Sierra went out to dinner with some friends. Kojai and I, boys' night in, chilling, watching the Hard Knocks in-season doc.
It's good.
About the Colts.
Is it good?
Spectacular.
I need to watch it.
I don't know why I missed it this long.
Is it? Yeah.
I think it's better than the training camp one. I love the training camp ones, but this one follows the Colts in season. You've got Liev Schreiber doing the voiceover as always.
Sick.
And, the Colts are good.
Yeah.
And they started bad. So to watch them turn it
fun.
around like that is very, very compelling.
That's fun.
Plus they've got some really amazing players, Jonathan Taylor, potential MVP, whatever. We're not going to get too into football, but it's really good. And so very excited to sort of sink my teeth into that. Smoked a little bit of a doob. And then I remembered Giulio had texted me earlier in the day saying he had something that he wanted me to take a look at. And so I thought, oh, shoot, I never got back to him on that. So I FaceTimed you and you said, "We don't have to look at it. No problem. I'll show it to you tomorrow." And then we talked on FaceTime for like 45 minutes.
Yeah.
And that's, not about the podcast, just about life. Now, I'll admit, you were being nice to me.
What do you mean?
I did not have much interesting stuff to say. I was stoned and holding you hostage with our conversation.
But dude, I don't think that you should have to have something good to say. Like, it's okay. Like, that's not what friends are for, dude.
I was a little bit like, an obligatory call to your mother or something,
dude.
where there's no real updates, but you're just calling to check in, and you're not going to be rude enough to hang up on me because you're worried that this might be one of our last phone calls.
That's not how it was at all. It's like there was a purpose for the call originally. You started chopping it up a little, and dude, it's fine. Maybe that was just like you being high, being like,
could be.
But I don't know if like you have that in you when you're not high. I know that I don't, but when I am high, I have that on big time. Where I'm like, I'm talking too much. No one likes me. Like they think I'm annoying. I'm trying to prove myself. Why are you trying to prove yourself, dude? They like you already. I
think it's a two-pronged thing where one, when I'm high, the substance of what I'm saying is a lot less interesting. But also two, that is when I am more aware that the substance of what I'm saying is not that interesting.
Dude, I call bullshit on that. First of all, Francis, so we've been doing a lot of credit card talk on the pod. I've
credit cards.
I've decided, I was like, I just want my taxes to be cleaner this year. So I'm like going through all the steps to like make sure that I have nothing to worry about when Uncle Sam comes knocking. As Brent says, he always takes his pound of flesh. But dude, so
what doesn't Brent have a saying for?
He really has a lot
taxes?
of sayings. Dude.
Wouldn't have thought.
He has a lot of sayings. Anyway, so I found Francis was like, dude, I got this card. He was like gassing me up about all the perks. And I was like, all right, and he's like, if you get it, make sure you tell me so I can refer you so we both get
Yeah, by the way, it's the American Express Platinum card. If you're considering getting it, please DM me so that I can send you a personal code and get those points bonuses. Please. And by the way, cannot recommend this card enough.
It is really good.
It is opening doors I didn't even know existed.
It's great.
Okay.
So anyway, we were kind of fraternizing about the benefits of our new status in society.
Mm-hmm.
So therefore, whatever sort of mundane shit you were telling me about was related to the credit card. So realistically, it wasn't boring at all. It was great. It's like this is our fun new toy.
Yes, that might have been a good segment of the conversation, but there were definitely moments and topics that I was sort of expounding upon, which did not need as much time as I gave them.
Dude, it's really not a big deal, bro.
Well, I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Hey, have I told you about my new cooking tool?
No.
Sous vide.
What is that?
You never heard of one of these things?
Oh, it's like SOUS.
French.
VIDE?
Yeah,
Yeah,
sous vide.
What is it?
Well, it's sort of a I guess like a heater, a water heater, and you heat the water to a very consistent temperature.
Dude, I just looked at Chris and he was nodding.
Chris knows about the sous
I
vide?
looked at him
Do you have one,
confused, and
Chris?
Chris just went like, "Yes, young Jedi."
Yeah,
All right,
Chris
sorry.
knows about the sous vide. What do you got, Chris?
I don't have one. I just know what they are, and they cook meat to perfection, right?
Perfection. It's a total
You
hack.
dogs.
It's a total cheat code.
Okay.
But it's used in very elite restaurants, allegedly, and was big in Europe and stuff from the 80s on, and then started
Got
to
it.
catch fire in more, in people's
Emerging
homes.
markets.
In America, yeah. But let me tell you something. So it heats water to a very consistent temperature. Let's say you're cooking a steak, right? And you
Mhm.
want medium rare. You want that perfect medium rare to be 131 degrees, right?
Mhm.
Well, you put that on a gas stove or, in the oven. You really got to monitor it. You got to
Yeah.
know your timing. You got to use a meat thermometer. You take it out of the oven. It's still going to cook as it's resting. And getting it right to that perfect temperature is tough.
Mhm.
You got to be some kind of a wizard,
Yeah,
right?
and have experience.
That's right. But with the sous vide, here's how it works. You get a big pot of water. You put your heating sous vide device into the pot of water. It brings the water to 131 degrees,
Mhm.
right? And then you take your steaks, maybe you season them first. You put them in some plastic Ziploc freezer bags, and then you submerge them in the water
Wow.
for about an hour, and they come very, very slowly up to 131 degrees. But because the water is only at 131 degrees, the steaks will never go past that.
Got it. That's
So
interesting.
even if you accidentally left them in 10, 20 minutes too long, whatever, you're not overcooking your steaks.
So what does this mean? Is that all? So then what do you do?
Then
that
you take them out of the bags, you get a cast iron skillet, you get that to really high heat, throw in a little bit of olive oil, maybe some butter, some rosemary, some garlic, and then you sear them to finish them.
Got
And
it.
that gives you your nice crust that makes
Got
it
it.
seem like you cooked it the way that the Vikings did
Wow.
over an open flame or something.
So can I ask you this? Sorry.
You're never going to screw up these steaks.
Interesting. So I've heard that, and tell me, I don't know how to do this. I'm not good at I'm not like the meat guy.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, I'm not like, oh, Giulio's on the grill. Like you won't hear that yet.
Mhm.
I hope to get there.
Yeah.
So don't people cook steaks in the oven too?
those room temperature tequilas aren't going to drink themselves.
They sure aren't, pal.
you,
They
gotta
sure aren't.
you can't have a hand occupied, with
You're
a
damn right.
grilling tongs.
You're damn right, brother.
Yeah.
Wait, so do people, I've heard that people cook their steaks in the oven and then they finish them off in the pan.
I usually sear it in a pan and then finish it in the oven.
Okay.
It
Or
might
maybe
work the
I
other
might have
way,
messed,
too.
I think I may have messed up the
That's
order.
that's how I always have done it.
So the water method is but can't you heat your oven to a specific temperature also?
Yeah, but you think of this. You heat your oven to 400, 375, 425, whatever it is to finish your steak.
Mhm.
If you cooked a steak to 425 degrees, it'd be a piece of wood.
Got it. So let me ask you this. In theory, and this is guys, I'm sorry if you think I'm a moron for asking this question. I don't know, so I apologize. Couldn't you just put your oven at 131 degrees? Is that wrong?
Potentially, my guess is that it would take a lot longer.
I don't even know if it's possible because doesn't the oven start at like
It
200 something?
And I also think there's something about the water swirls
Right.
in the pot where it consistently kind of envelops all of the meat or whatever you've got in there, such that every inch of that steak is the same temperature.
Interesting. Cool. That's fucking cool, dude.
Yeah. Anyway, look, unfortunately, this is not, it sounds like we're doing, if only we were sponsored by a sous vide company, but hopefully we can figure that out. The point is, I got this for Christmas and I did steaks and they were perfect. And there's a great sous vide cookbook that I got, and it's going to absolutely revolutionize my cooking.
Dude.
And I'm
fire.
getting really into cooking. I'm really enjoying it. You can do chicken, you can do perfect poached eggs, you can do vegetables in this stuff.
It's
And
fire,
the best part is you get to just leave it for, you can go do, you don't have to stand around while you're
Right.
cooking this stuff.
Right.
You don't have any fear of it overcooking.
Dude, it's amazing. That's very fucking
Yeah.
cool.
Sous vide.
Dude, quickly, I want to give a shout out to Bittersweet Houston for sending us a bunch of cookies. They're really fucking decadent and cool.
I
and
ate a couple of
we
those.
appreciate you guys sending them if you're in the Texas area.
You know how good those cookies are?
They're really fucking
We
good.
put them in the freezer as per your directions.
Yes.
I took them out of the freezer and ate them frozen.
Sorry.
Didn't even heat them up.
Sorry that we violated that step.
I was just too excited. They're incredible.
I did that also, but I also put them in the oven and they were just really decadent, delicious
Better,
fucking
yeah.
cookies. So
They're almost like a cross between a cookie and a sticky toffee pudding or something.
they're
big-
really fucking
Big
good.
ones.
Big, juicy, delicious. It's amazing.
I got something to show you. Look at my hand.
Oh
See
god.
this?
Yeah, you told me about this.
It's playing basketball.
It's
with our
so
pals from
funny.
Bird dogs.
So you called me during when this had happened, and I felt bad for you because I remember how you were like ready to. You're like, I'm gonna start trying. I'm gonna try. Like you said that, and then like all of a sudden, you're like two of your most important utensils for trying
Yeah.
are ruined.
Yeah.
Tell us what happened.
The Squirtmaster 3000 and the Squirtmaster 4000. Too much? Too much for Oops the Podcast? Apologies. It's my middle finger and my ring finger on my right hand. Very important fingers. You don't realize the role of each finger until 2 or 3 of them are taken out of commission.
I mean, these are like the two biggest typing fingers. Most
They're
likely.
big typing fingers and they're big gripping fingers.
big gripping.
You
fingers.
gotta, whether it's a tennis racket or a golf club or a dumbbell. I mean, the playing the piano. So many of the parts of my day are not available anymore
Yeah.
until these puppies heal.
You're a finger man.
I am a finger man. So I was playing basketball with our pals from Bird Dogs. To your point, trying 7 a.m. That's when they play
That's so crazy.
over
bro.
at Chelsea Piers. It's very good exercise though. We play 4-on-4 full court,
Sick.
which you're just.
That's like the Iron Man of basketball. They've
Yeah,
taken
yeah.
a man off the court.
Someone grabs a rebound and hits an outlet pass, and they're breaking down the court, and you're back there yelling, "Slow it down, pull it out, get the right look," just so you
7
can walk
a.m.
up and join the offense.
Do you drive in for that?
I took an Uber. It was expensive. There's no right way to do it. I drove the first time, and you park, and it's like $30 for the hour,
Ugh,
and then I don't know. There's no right way to do it.
brutal.
But we're playing, my whole fear in getting back into men's loose basketball is getting injured.
Which I told you on the phone. I don't know if you had known this before, but it's the number one cause of injury in men 25 to 45 is pickup basketball in America.
Are you for real?
Yeah.
More than car accidents?
It's the number one cause of injury.
More than car accidents?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure if it's.
I would
in the
guess
same
it's
category.
of sports that men play. It's probably the
But it
number
could.
one.
I would understand it being higher than car accidents.
Because
if it were-
you can get more injuries.
You can just and they might not be that bad of injuries,
Yeah.
but whatever.
Well, there were 3 minutes left in the 1 hour that we were playing.
Ugh, that makes it even worse.
And someone went to cut through the paint, and I reached out to sort of get a hand on him defensively, and it's as if I reached into his soul. It was as though I was trying to, like in the Matrix, when the agents try to convert people
Yeah.
into more agents, and they reach into their body. That's what I did, right into his breastplate. And my 2 fingers jammed. I mean, impossibly hard. I don't know how they didn't just snap in two, but it was so much pain that I was laughing in hysterics. I didn't know what sounds to make, and I was embarrassed, but I didn't know what to do. I was sort of gasping for breath, bouncing around, running around the court. You know, the game is still going on, and I'm nowhere near the action. Mm-hmm. I'm sort of squealing. And I was very nervous about coming off as a little bitch boy, based on the noises that I was making. But no, because nobody cares about a finger injury. You go down with a knee injury or a torn Achilles, everyone's crowded over. People are worried about you. You're holding your hand, you're shaking your hand. People are like, come on. There's
a wide range of how badly that could actually be. But bro, I mean, people come out of the game for that, like in the NBA.
Yeah, and that's usually when their finger's at a right angle.
I don't know, man. A little jam, people get taken out for that sometimes.
The point is, both fingers are completely purple, and it's been really bad.
Can I see?
Yeah.
Do you think that they're broken?
Well, it's possible. I talked to my buddy's dad, who's a hand doctor. I FaceTimed him, and he said, you know, you might consider getting an X-ray because it's possible that bone shards have pulled away from the tendon, in which case it might heal in such a way as to limit your mobility. And
you should do the buddy method, dude. Tape them
together. Yeah, he said that might be kind of fun.
Dude, I jammed my toe on a radiator. You guys probably remember this was a few months ago, but like it was so fucking purple, like 5 times more purple than that.
Well, let's not get into
just hear me out. There's a reason for that. We're not competing.
All right.
There's a reason for this, but mine ended up not being broken, and it looked much worse than that.
Yeah, see, I bet mine's broken, and sometimes it's not the question of how purple is it, but there may be things happening under the skin that you know. I don't want to get into this contest that you made it, but
well, I was devastated because I was positive that it was broken, and when it wasn't, it was one of those things like, "Can you check again?"
So this is what I wanted to get to, which is when you get injured later in life, there's almost a part of me that wants it to look bad, so that people believe me and care more. Blood is the best. Bleeding is great because bleeding, even if it's a tiny bit, is an instant signifier that you truly have hurt yourself. And people believe it. There's proof. Look at that. You're bleeding. Oh no. When was the last time? I think the coolest thing a guy can do is to be bleeding and not know it and have someone else point it out. Oh shoot, did you see you're bleeding?
I don't remember.
What? Really? And then they're like, this guy didn't even know he was bleeding. What is he, Wolverine? Come on, that's manly.
That's manly. It's manly.
Yeah, so blood is definitely the best, but then, you know, having fully purple fingers, I kept wanting them to get more and more purple so that I could really show it to people and say, look, I'm hurt. This is what I'm going through.
It looks pretty bad, dude.
I'm toughening it out, though.
It sucks because during the game, it's not purple yet. So no one knows to what degree you're suffering. So like you said, someone would be like, oh, dude, you're fine. But then did you just send everybody a picture of that? Who was at the game?
No, not yet. No, I just know I'm aware. I'm aware that they're not going to care. Nobody cares about anyone else's injury unless you are really, really hurt, unless you have to go to the hospital.
Yeah.
But you know, it's funny because when I was in college, I had major back pain. And that is the ultimate injury where people just don't care.
Interesting.
I had a pinched nerve in my back. So I had shooting pain all up and down my left leg for every practice.
How'd you fix it?
I did everything I could. I would go to the training room, 2 hours before practices and lifts to get heating pads. I'd have our trainer do a hard massage. I would do a hot tub. And then after the thing, I would go back in and I would do an ice bath for 20, 30 minutes or whatever. And you do, stim. You do those boots that inflate, put your leg in
those
one
are
of
the
those.
best.
Yeah. You really treat yourself and you're doing everything you can to get yourself to 60%.
And then but like, is that one of those things that kind of just goes away over time? Because I know it's like a hard thing to fix.
Yeah. Eventually, once you stop, exercising for 4.5 hours a day after college, your body calms down and it stopped being a major problem.
Right.
I don't know exactly how it fixed itself, but it was just so clear that I was overusing myself.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing is, you tell your coach, I can't practice today or whatever. Why? Well, my back hurts.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's as vague and unprovable. There's no, you know what I mean? Nobody, people think you're being, no matter what, people think you're being a wimp.
I don't think that, personally. I don't know. Maybe I'm missing out on that or something, but I don't like back pain. While again, it's a little like vague, like you said, it could mean a lot of things, but like I'm really scared of like throwing out my back just because like I know that just happens to people.
Yeah.
Is there an age where that starts happening?
I would think so.
Like even I have friends who are like pretty fit, who are a little older, and they'll just like throw out their back. And I'm like, what the fuck does that even mean?
Yeah.
Like you just can't even get up?
Doesn't it mean that a disc becomes, slides out of place or becomes displaced or something?
Is it? I have no idea.
I wonder.
But like, I threw out my back. I remember when I was a kid, my friends' dads would throw out their back.
Yeah, right.
And I'd be like, what? I don't know. That scares me a bit.
It does. It is scary. But, unless you have a true cracked disc or something that could show up on an MRI, that type of back pain I had was always, I knew that my teammates and my coach were dubious, which is why you have to just play through it.
Yeah,
but the pain of that was so much worse than having fingers that are purple, which ironically my teammates would have said, "Ooh, that looks bad."
Right.
Be more willing to let you off the hook.
I respect, I will not respect. It's nice though to have like supervision from a doctor where you're like, even though this hurts, will it get worse? When they're like, no, that makes me feel way better.
Totally. What would you say the best injuries are to have? Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
After all of this?
When all things considered.
Best injuries.
Oh man.
I mean, anything that
Anything
bleeds
that heals quickly, bro. Honestly.
Okay, well that's a different take. You're going in a different direction.
I'm not going in the like, ooh, the most dramatic injury.
I want an injury that looks really bad but isn't actually going to be all that bad.
Maybe like a good old fashioned slow motion hyperextension that heals itself in a couple days. Where on the replay you see the knee go in the wrong direction.
Yeah, but you and I don't have replays. I'm talking for the lay person.
Okay. Man, I don't fucking know, bro. What do you think? The worst injury is in this vein is a cuticle because it hurts really bad.
That's a good point.
And nobody will ever be like, your cuticle hurts, dude.
I'll take an over tugged cuticle because those bleed for a good amount.
Terrible.
And
you try to bite them off and you can't get close enough.
Yeah, I hear you.
You're just trying to fucking bite it.
And you're ripping and pulling and tugging like it's a shoelace, and it just keeps getting deeper until finally you're sucking the blood out of your own thumb and then spitting it aside as if a rattlesnake bit you.
That's good. Do you want a thrown out back?
What is a thrown out back?
Throwing out your back is characterized by a sudden severe pain in your back. This usually occurs in the lower back, and it happens during physical activity. It can be caused by a muscle spasm, arthritis, a slipped or ruptured disc, or the cause can remain a mystery. The most common cause is muscle strain or spasm.
There you go. I mean, this is what I'm talking about. Anything where there's a chance that the cause may be a mystery does not lend itself to sympathy.
Well, dude, I've started going to the gym with Hillary.
Whoa.
We've started going to the gym together.
How does that work?
So, I mean, she just joined the gym that I already go to, and it's actually very fun. Like, I'll do something silly, and then we'll like lock eyes across the gym, and it's just like a fun little thing that we have now.
Do you judge her workouts though?
No.
She go harder than you, or you go harder than her?
I don't know. I don't really think about it.
Damn, dude. What are you guys, just fucking perfect?
Dude, I just don't care. Like, I don't feel this pressure to go harder or less harder than her. Like, my body is my body.
So it's total independence, no judgment. You're just at the gym at the same time.
I don't judge her. She may judge me. I don't know. But dude, she may judge me because I do silly things. Like, You know the power plate? Do you know that accessory
Is that that thing you stand on
that like
rumbles?
vibrates? Yeah. So sometimes when it's cold, I like to treat myself to the power plate. And I'll be like straddling it, and she'll like will think it's funny, and then I will start kind of leaning into it, but she'll make that face, like the "what the fuck are you doing" face with the like the head shake, and she'll be like, and then she'll start laughing, and then I'll be kind of like straddling the power plate, or we'll just like do silly shit, dude, and it's fun.
Huh.
You know, it's a nice thing. I actually used to be really scared of the idea of working out with my girlfriend, like thought it was like weird. But now that we've been together for so long, it's no longer weird for me, and I enjoy it and think it's funny.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, we did a partner workout on the TV
Oh, fun.
when we had COVID, since we couldn't go anywhere. And I say partner workout, we were just both following the instructions of this guy. It was, a full body strength workout. So a lot of lunges and sort of push-up type things. And I was gently encouraging her, which I think she liked. I didn't
That's
ask.
nice. That's nice.
But I'm that's more our speed when we're working out together is we're pushing each other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know that that's necessarily ours, but dude, I'm not saying it should or shouldn't be. No, I'm not like.
No, I agree. It works for some people and doesn't for others.
But dude, the fucking I've been doing the Apple Fitness workouts.
Okay.
I do them at the gym. Like, there's something about working out in my apartment. My apartment, it just isn't big enough. And I don't like the idea of wanting to be pushed to the point where I'm sweating all over my apartment.
Yeah.
I'd prefer to avoid that. So I will do the at-home workouts at the gym, which is also a kind of an embarrassing thing to be doing. I'll use like the stretching area and I'm doing like embarrassing things, like, but I've gotten over it. Like, I don't give a fuck anymore. I'll just go in there and just do my thing.
Yeah, you got to.
But dude, the workout people, and I don't know if they did a focus group and they decided that this was effective, but they're just such cornballs that it's insane. Like, what's up, guys? Welcome back to the Apple Fitness Studio here in LA. Listen up, fam. They literally will say, listen up, fam. And then they'll be like, ooh, Imagine Dragons. This song really gets me going. This song reminds me of, and then they'll like almost make up some inspirational thing. They'll be like, overcoming stuff.
Yeah.
In your life, in all of our lives. All right, fam, 2 more. Dude, it's just like the worst, but it's just easy and effective. And like, I can just do it in my phone. It links to my watch. Like, there's things about it that are great, but sometimes I'll be like, dude, you're such a tool to like whoever the person is.
Yeah.
I don't know.
All the Peloton instructors, it's the same thing. There is a forced happiness.
Did Peloton invent that? I sort of feel like they did.
I think that's been around for a while. I think spins instructors, spin classes, that's always been the case.
But
Even
like
personal
digitally,
trainers.
like the digital, and like bringing that, but you're right. Like the spin instructors, Jesus, dude, it's brutal.
It is. And they're always talking about the family, and everybody who's doing this is we're not a family.
We're not a family.
I bet you if I met anyone else that was on their bike for that class, I would hate them.
You can't pick your family, Francis.
Yeah, if I saw them, I'd be competing and trying to cycle them into the ground.
Fuck you.
Yeah. If God forbid there's a pregnant woman on the bike next to me and she's outperforming, they always seem to outperform you. When I used to do those group boutique workouts in New York, there'd always be a pregnant woman there who
crushing
us. And it would make me mad. Like, what are you doing? You should be on a couch watching, Maury.
That's really funny.
Eating cheese crackers or something. Like,
dude, it's funny. In the workout class capacity, I am not effective. Like, I'm never good enough that I'm going to be the best. So I've sort of like given up. I've never I can't think of a class where I'm competing to be the best guy in the class. Like, I will never come close. It must be nice to feel that way. To be vying for that spot. I'm not flexible enough. I'm not fit enough. I like never have been. Even when I was like at the peak of my athletic, I still couldn't.
I think yeah, there is something nice to sort of trying to do the hardest version. But I also know that when I first moved to New York and I was doing CrossFit, it's what drove me to serious injury. Because you ignore, your competitiveness overwhelms your body's radar signals that you're flying too close to the sun.
Yeah.
And lifting more than you should and pushing through bad pain. And I had a huge elbow reconstruction because of it.
Really?
Yeah.
I think I think I knew that, but maybe I never connected the dots.
Yeah, it was because of CrossFit. CrossFit
Jesus.
is really dangerous.
Well, dude, the only class where I've ever actually competed for the best person in the class was gentle yoga, but it wasn't fair because I was like 30 years younger than everybody. But I used to do that class once a week, and it doesn't exist anymore because not
How
enough people were taking
Is
it.
that competitive? How can you make gentle yoga competitive?
Okay, because the woman would be like, if you're really feeling frisky, you can do this. And I would be the only person
I'm
physically
feeling frisky. Yeah.
capable of the friskiness to do something simple that in another class wouldn't even be, you know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
And I did
then
enjoy that.
she's walking around and she puts a gentle hand on your shoulder and is
Exactly.
like, you can do this one.
Keep going.
And then you feel like the teacher's pet.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was nice.
I got to tell you something, Giulio. I booked a pretty sick trip for my birthday.
I mean, I heard a bit about it. I'd like to hear the deets.
Napa.
Sick.
Ever heard of it?
I sure have.
Napa?
Have you been before?
Never. Now, one of the impeti,
Here it is.
one of the, I think it's
Minute
impetuses,
40
but
something.
I don't actually, it's definitely not impeti, but I think that's funny. One of the impeti for us going to Napa is that with the wildfires being increasingly bad each year in that area, I don't know how many years we have left to go to wine
Is that
country.
real?
I don't know. It seems that way.
Damn.
I mean, these vineyards are getting decimated.
Jesus.
Their crop production, their yields are smaller and smaller every year.
Damn, bro.
They're really struggling. And I watched there was a 60 Minutes piece on the vineyards of France and how they're just, it's the wine industry in France is operating at, putting out 40% less
Wow.
this year than they did last year of
Damn.
total wine
Damn.
in Bordeaux or whatever. And what's interesting is that it means that it's shifting the areas in which wine production is flourishing.
Mhm.
And it just keeps moving north. So now they're saying England,
Oh, wow.
out of nowhere, is becoming one of the best producers of sparkling wines.
Good for them. Good for them.
Yeah, but it's not a great sign. And by the way, this mirrors what's happening with the lobster trade.
Really?
Yeah.
Pushing north?
In Maine, I mean, you used to be able to get lobster in bounties of lobster all up the East Coast, basically, Massachusetts and, down through New York, whatever. And Maine was always known for it, but the lobster kept migrating north to find colder water because they like cold water. And a couple of years ago, Maine had its highest crop, a bumper crop, as they call it, of lobster ever, which drove the price of lobster down. And we as Mainers were thrilled, but from a marine biology standpoint, it's not a good sign because if that's the peak, they're going to keep moving north and they'll move up into the Bay of Fundy and Canada and all of that. And soon you won't be able to
A bunch of
get
unemployed
lobster
lobster
in Maine.
fishermen.
Yeah, it's just horrible.
Damn.
So, because the water is getting warmer. So, I don't know. I mean, it'll be interesting to see, like, what if that happens in with wine in America, where all of a sudden Washington State and whatever else become the centers for
Interesting.
Cabernet.
Interesting. Crazy.
So we're going to Napa because who knows how much time we'll have left to do that. And I had gotten a bunch of checks at the end of the year that were outstanding.
Oh, nice.
For gigs,
Nice.
for deals that I had, whatever. And I came home from Miami and opened up, an amount of checks, money that I don't think I've had at one time.
Jealous. That's sick.
It was a really good feeling, but
That's sick.
I still don't have the discipline to say, well, you better know that the coming months might be a little quieter.
I know.
So you should sock some of this away. I didn't spend all of it, but instantly I started looking at a really sick trip to go on for my birthday.
Good.
And booked Napa. and booked the most expensive hotel in Napa. And I'll tell you something. I'm very excited about it. But the drop from the top hotel to the second best hotel in price is like 40% less.
Yeah.
And the second best hotel looks
I'm sure it's
just
sick,
as
yeah.
nice, if not nicer, than any hotel I've ever stayed in.
Mhm.
And so, but there's something, I'm going to say something kind of twisted here. There is a perverted peace of mind that comes from knowing you spent the most that you could on something.
That's how they get you.
I get peace of mind from spending the least amount of money that I can
Or
on
the
something
most.
or the most.
Interesting. But it is true. Like you'll be looking at hotels and they'll sort of be like a general price range. And then the best hotel is just like cost twice as much as it's crazy.
Preposterous.
Yeah.
But do you know what I'm saying? Like getting a really good deal on something really cheap and being like, wow, we're doing this for nothing. This is
Right.
going to be amazing. I'm so happy. Or if you're like, I don't want price to be a factor. This is something I'm doing for myself. I can't afford it. Even though the second best hotel would blow us away, something about the excitement leading up to the trip, knowing you're going to the number one.
I get that from like paying for my own large scale productions.
Well, that's a great
I know, but
place to
that's
do it.
that's the only way that I can that's the way that I relate to that, because to be honest, like the most expensive hotel, I don't even like consider it.
But I'm
Maybe
not
I hope
talking.
someday.
I would by the way, for just myself, I never do this. But if it's a couple's trip,
I don't want you to make I'm not trying to make you feel.
but differentiate for a second.
Okay.
You're going on a trip with Hill Dog.
Yeah.
You want to stay in a nice place. Whereas you go on a trip for work to Iraq or whatever, you're not looking to
As concerned about it. So
impress anyone.
okay, yes, but oddly enough, the Iraq thing ends up being the splurge, just because of how expensive it is to bring other people to do whatever. The thing with Hill Dog, it generally ends up becoming this: what is the nicest place we can stay at that we can afford, and then we'll get that.
But here's my question. How do you determine what you can afford? You know?
Yeah,
like
a
what,
good question.
I
That's a
don't
good question.
really know what, I mean, I hate to say this. I don't really know what I can afford.
Okay, so fair. So let's think about it this way. So you just had let's say you got what's equivalent to a bonus by getting all these checks at the end of the
Correct.
year, right?
Sure.
So when you get a bonus, it's nice to get yourself a treat.
We'll treat.
That treat can be whatever.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? So for you, it is buying this trip.
Mm-hmm.
So you can afford that. Whereas for me, the treat might, who knows what it would be. It could also be that, but it might not be. And so let's call this different than a normal vacation, because what I can and can't afford on a normal vacation, let's say we're planning to take a vacation. Therefore we look at it that way. If it's like, oh shit, I just got a bunch of money out of nowhere, let's fucking go on a trip. That's different. That's different. You can afford it in that context. That's different than like planning a vacation and being like, okay, how much does this cost? This is how I gauge it. How much will this cost? And then I'm like, can I afford it? Okay, maybe not. Let's see the next one down. And you
Yeah.
eventually whittle it down to something that you can afford.
We would certainly not be going and staying at this hotel had I not gotten those checks.
Totally good.
In fact, we wouldn't be going on the trip at all. And that's
gonna
the
be
problem.
lovely.
That is a problem for me, is that we travel so infrequently for ourselves. We do so little. We don't go out to dinner. We really don't splurge on ourselves that often, that when we do, it's as if I'm making up for lost time. And I actually think doing a few more trips together or dinners or whatever it is might cost me less than these one-off over the top things that I really swing for.
Oh, so but this is the other thing too to consider is like time. You know what I mean? So like
Yeah.
you had a bunch of weddings last year, right? So let's just say that took up that budget from you. That took that budget away from you.
Yeah.
You're like, I have to put, because these are sort of, so these are still like things for you in a capacity, but It's different than just like planning your own trip and going, right? So like how often, and I don't know what your wedding schedule is like this year. I know you have your own, but you're not going to be able to necessarily go on 5 trips. So why not just have one big one?
That's kind of that was my thought. We never do this. I don't want to leave any stone unturned.
Dude, I'm all for it. Like your experiences at the end of the day are like the only thing you fucking have. And
Yes.
it's true. It's the only thing you have. And it's always worth it to spend too much.
Can I tell you something? This was another major eye-opening moment that I had in that last week of 2021.
Mm.
As I was in Florida with my family before we went to Miami. I'm there with my sister, my brother-in-law, my parents, and my niece, my little baby niece. She's just 1 now. And I watched as my sister and my brother-in-law, their lives were completely consumed and dedicated to their baby.
Mhm.
Understandably, right?
Totally.
But to the hour, can they even find an hour to go work out or do whatever they want? Will she abide by her nap schedule or is she off? And it was such an all-consuming commitment that I had a very clear thought of, I only have a couple years left before I have children. I want to maximize the activities that I do in that time
Yeah.
that I will not be able to do once I have children.
Right.
And it all of a sudden made me want to travel all the time with Sierra.
Nice, dude.
I thought
Fun.
we have got to go to places and do things now because we only have a couple of years before we have children. We have to get these in.
Yeah. Dude, I love it.
And that's when I overcorrected and booked this Napa trip.
Dude, like you need to not like I don't know if you just like feel guilty to the fact that you're admitting you're going on like a kind of lavish trip, what it is, but like don't like second guess it, dude.
I'm
Fuck
second
it.
guessing parts of it. One part
Go
of it is
have fun, ball out, and like show us, dude. Show us yourself in a bubble bath, drinking fucking expensive champagne.
I don't know.
Do as the rappers would do.
I don't know if I'm not a show. I'm a grower, not a shower. I'm trying to grow my Instagram account, not show everybody. I don't know what it is, but look,
People will like it, dude. People want to see you having fun. Fuck them, dude. Fuck them.
No, not fuck them. These are our fans.
I know, but dude, our fans want to see you have fun, dude. It's
maybe.
sick. They're like, look at Francis fucking killing it.
Well, you know what I like to do? I do like to do. Do you remember when I went to Jamaica and I got sunburned and I made a bunch of Instagram
that was
stories
fun.
about that?
That's funny.
So that's my way of showing
Quality content.
and having cocktails or whatever. It's not a panorama of our digs with a geotag of a hotel that everyone can then look up and say, "Oh shit, that place is where the Kardashians stayed last week."
Fine, but you're doing it anyway with the sunburn footage.
Yeah, but you could be staying at a Hilton in
Okay,
Jamaica
fine,
with
fine.
that sunburn.
Okay, but you don't have to be like, here I am at the Ritz-Carlton, Indonesia. Like, dude,
Yeah.
I want you to enjoy the thing that you've done.
I think I will, but there's one other piece of the budgeting that, I was not honest with myself about, which is that you book the hotel, sure. The flight's not expensive.
Great.
We are going to do these wine tastings,
Mm-hmm.
which get expensive. Dinners are expensive.
Yeah.
And when you go to wine country, you can't drive. You can't drive around to these
Right, 'cause you
tastings
get
because you're
hammered.
getting hammered.
Yeah.
So you have to either book a driver, which apparently is very expensive. I guess I've been told that Ubers are very hard to find. Classic. It's a place that's supporting its driver industry or whatever.
Mm.
And so that's another expense. And then, we'll probably want to buy some cases of wine to ship home from these places we really like. And all of this is going to add a lot more on top.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the belt tightening, you don't really want to feel it while you're there. Where going to the second nicest hotel, I just feel like there would have been
Right.
a
You
couple
would have been all
notches
set.
looser on the belt for me to fill in.
Well, dude, fuck it. This is the beauty of this. It's not for a couple months and you've already booked it. Therefore, Stage A of the expenses has already occurred, and stage B will occur when you're there. So you have some time to prepare for it.
Yeah, prepare, aka make some more money.
Put some cash to the side, brother.
I did have the willpower to only book 3 nights. I kind of wanted to do 4, and I said that's too much. So we're only going for 3 nights to this hotel.
Dude, great.
I suspect we'll stay at
In and
a
out.
crummier hotel the first night and then go to this place.
Oh, cool.
And that'll hopefully bring the average
Use your
down.
points, dude. Once I hit my bonus, you'll get those extra points.
I'm kind of saving the points for the honeymoon. Is where my
interesting.
head's at right now.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Clever.
Yeah.
Did I ever tell you my wine country story?
No, you've been?
Yeah. This is I think.
Are you a big wine guy? Do you like wine?
Sure. I don't know. Like, no, not necessarily.
That's kind of where I'm at.
Dude, I like a nice Lambrusco, bro.
Okay.
I like a nice fucking, like, where my family's from and my dad's family's from in Italy. Like, everybody makes their own.
That's cool.
And it's just like a good sparkling red, and you can't really get
sparkling red.
Yeah, you can't get like a good crisp, dry sparkling red that many places. It'll be like all fruity and shitty or like sweet, but like the way they make it over there is like killer. Anyway, whatever. I'm not a big wine guy though. Like, whatever. I'll drink it. I don't know shit. I don't pretend to know anything.
Same.
All good. So this friend of mine convinced me to move him out of his apartment. He convinced me to move him out of his like parents' house in San Francisco. He had moved to LA. He was going to get stuff. He's like, I'll rent a truck. Like, we'll go together. It'll be great. Like, you'll stay with me. We'll do some stuff in San Francisco. It'll be great. Whatever. And I was like, okay. Like, it didn't. He framed it in a way where it wasn't going to be a big deal. He's like, I'm going to rent a thing to attach to the back of the truck, and it'll be easy peasy, no big deal. So we get there, and he hadn't really thought this through. So he realizes that it's less expensive to just rent a truck than to rent the thing that attaches to the back. So he's like, dude, would you mind driving the rental truck? I'm like, what? So I'm just driving a rental truck. And I'm like, what the fuck is happening? So I'm driving this truck, and like, I'm listening to Serial. This is when like Serial was big. So he said something, but it's all like windy, and it's a fucking like, so I'm all stressed out, whatever. Dude. So the first night we stop in, he's like, dude, let's go to Napa. He's like, let's go to one of these wine tasting places. It'll be sick. So we go.
You're going from San Francisco to LA, and you guys went to Napa?
No, we drove from LA to San Francisco.
Oh, so you went past San
Napa.
Francisco.
We went to Napa first or whatever.
Yeah.
And
in that truck?
Yes. Okay. So dude, he's like, so we had a plan. We were going to like stay with his parents that night. And he's like, dude, this girl, he's like, she's begging me to come. He's like, you'll have a place to stay. Like, let's go stay at her place. And I'm like, okay. So we go to the wine tasting. It's great. Then we get to this girl's place.
Can you describe what the wine tasting was like?
It was amazing. So dude, it was at this place that was like a sculpture park. And there was these incredible sculptures, and like you walk around these grounds, and then you do like a pairing, and like you drink a bunch of wine and try a bunch of different wines. And it was just so dope. Like,
cool.
We had a great time.
Did you use one of those spit buckets?
I don't know. I don't remember.
Okay.
But like, I know that they have that, but I think I was just drinking it all.
Yeah. Apparently it's actually more elite if you use the spit bucket.
That makes sense. But
because it means you're like, I don't like this. And you know, whereas I'm going to be a bottomless pit.
Yeah, I did. I drank it all.
Even if I don't like it, I'll just take it like a shot.
Yeah. So dude, 100%. That's where I was at.
Okay.
So anyway, so like, I mean, that's the extent of the wine country part, but the rest of the story is pretty funny. So anyway, dude, we get to this girl's place, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, hey, like, just so you know, like, I don't have a bed for you. So you're going to have to sleep down here on the floor. I have a sleeping bag. And I was like, do you have like a pillow? And she's like, I don't. And my friend's like, dude, I'm sorry. He's like, do this for me. He's like, I promise tomorrow I'll make it up for you. Like, you can have my bed at my parents' house and I'll sleep on the couch. And I was like, okay, fine, whatever. So I sleep on the floor in a sleeping bag with this girl's chihuahua. And I wake up in the morning, dude, to people standing over me. People who I didn't know standing over me. And they were like, sorry, like, what are you doing here? And it turned out this girl was the caretaker of this venue where they have weddings. And I was sleeping on the floor. It was in a sleeping bag of a place that they were trying to show these people for their wedding.
Are you kidding
No.
me?
And I didn't know, no one told me this before. And I was like, I was so fucking pissed. I was like, are you serious? But I was like, all right, whatever. I'm going to let it go. It's fine. Like, this is so shitty, but okay. Dude. So then, dude, the next day we go to his parents' house And we're at dinner and his mom and his dad are there. And like his mom and dad are separated. And his dad, we're all drinking at dinner. And his dad gets like a little fucked up and then goes upstairs to go to bed because he can't drive home. And then like an hour later, my friend's like, dude, like my dad is sleeping in the bed that you were going to be sleeping in. I'm sorry.
God.
Like, would you be cool sleeping? And I end up sleeping in like a reclining chair, dude. And at this point, I'm like, dude, I'm going to fucking kill you, dude. And then the next day, like, end up moving all this furniture with him and his dad. Like, dude, I wanted to fucking kill this guy. I was like, dude, I'll make it up to you. Whatever. So anyway, that's how that happened. But
What's the worst
Sucks.
place or situation you've ever slept in?
dude, I gotta be honest. Sleeping in a tent in Iraq, directly next to Zach, and we didn't have room to both be in the tent on the hard ground. That was probably
That's really bad.
upwards of the worst I've ever.
Yeah, that's really bad.
What about you?
Well, okay. I mean, the first one that comes to mind, the reason I asked this question is one time I remember when I was I guess a senior in high school, we had to get community service hours in order to graduate. Did you guys have that at your school?
Yeah, I think I may have like cheated on mine.
A lot of people did, I
Yeah.
think.
Yeah.
But there was this French immersion school popped up a mile from my house. That was for, I think, kindergartners through third graders or something like that. Out of nowhere, it was just this they total French immersion school. And I would drive by it, and then one day I sort of wandered in, and I spoke good French, and I said, I speak French. I'd love to if you guys have like a soccer, or I would happily coach gym or volunteer because I need to get community service hours to graduate. And the guys were like, cool, yeah, whatever. And I got to know the director of the school, and then he had a cousin near Normandy.
Okay.
And his cousin had a son who was my age, who was a really cool kid, was a very good athlete. His name was Maxime, and he was on the national French rink hockey team.
Oh wow.
They basically play.
What does that mean?
It's hockey played on roller skates,
Wow.
not roller blades, but
crazy.
legit roller skates that have the break in the toe, like
Yeah.
a thing. And
That's
but it's like
insane.
it's intense, and they wear full pads, they wear helmets, and the sticks are kind of like imagine a field hockey stick. It's kind of like that.
Okay.
They have like penalty shots, and they would pack. I mean, I went and watched one of their games, and they would pack these arenas,
That's cool.
and it
dude.
was super hype. It was awesome.
Random sports like that are so interesting.
Yeah, I'd never even really heard of it.
First time, same for me.
Yeah. So I started emailing with this kid. We kind of became pen pals or whatever. And I went to visit him at the end of that summer, heading into my senior year, and went to Normandy, basically, to Brittany. And this is the country, right? And, I've never met this guy before. I fly over there. I pull in. I'm jet lagged. His parents pick me up. He's with them in the car. We start talking. It's great. And then, we start going out at night. And he and his like best friends from this region would party so fucking hard.
Sick.
Dude, I can't even describe it. I mean, it's almost like for lack of other things to do,
Right.
they would just
Right.
have these house parties, and whoever's parents were out of town, but it was their parents knew and didn't care. But
Right.
like everyone would go to the house party, and everyone would sleep there. And these houses were, stone cottages that were built in like the 1800s and were tiny.
Oh my god.
And there'd be like 25 people sleeping in them.
Oh my god.
And these kids would get so fucked up. Like they had all kinds of new ways of getting fucked up that I'd never heard of before. And they smoked. They'd smoke
rock.
hash, the sort of the brown brick. And I was smoked weed, but not much, and tried that and didn't whatever. But it was always mixed with tobacco. and then they'd run out of the hash, so they would just do bong hits with pure tobacco.
Oh my God.
And
dude.
I wouldn't do that, but I saw them
Jesus.
do this, and I was like, these guys are fucking
Jesus
nuts.
Christ.
How did they not beat the Nazis? Anyway, you know, like is these farm? Why were they in the resistance? Like whatever. So, one night we were at this girl's house. I think her name was Adeline, and we were hanging there, getting super fucked up, and it was always like drinking cups of shitty vodka mixed with Fanta. Stuff like that, and
That
you know,
dirty Sprite.
playing games. Someone would bring out a guitar. They'd sing a redemption song in poor English, whatever. But it was fun. And that night there was this attic space that was just a floor on the attic, and like people at various points in the party would sort of climb this ladder to go up there and sleep on coats.
Oh God.
I think there was like a gymnastics mat that like 7 people slept on. And I went up there towards the end. They would party till 5, 6 in the morning.
Crazy.
And I went up there to try to find a spot to sleep. Couldn't find any, like tried for a while. People were talking.
Oh God.
And finally I was like, fuck this. And I went and I slept in the car, in the front seat, like the passenger seat.
I forgot I've done that before too.
And
That's the worst.
That was bad. That whole night was bad.
That's the sleeping in the seat of a car is really, really,
It's not
really bad.
fun.
Which makes me feel even worse for people who live in their car.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, I remember, because even in that show Made, remember how
Yeah,
she
her
catches her
mom.
mom sleeping
Yeah.
in the car? The whole Best Buy saga, I slept in the car during that, like trying to wait in line.
How many nights?
Just one,
Uh-huh.
but it was terrible.
It's terrible.
It's absolutely terrible.
Sleeping in a non-moving car.
Dude, by the way, I have a show recommendation for anybody who likes horror.
Oh boy.
You're talking about Brittany or whatever reminded me of, because this show takes place in that sort of part of France, that like northern cold water. It's called Marianne. It is the scariest show one of the scariest shows I've ever seen.
Really?
It's really good. It should be on Netflix still, and you should check it out.
Is it in French?
Yes.
Huh.
It's in French.
Wow. All right.
Very good.
Oof. Hey, good. Let's run it out there. That's Oops the podcast. Lots to unpack in today's episode. We went
Love it.
everywhere.
All over the world.
Yeah. Thank you guys for listening. So much spirit, so much pizzazz. As always, follow our Instagram, follow our TikTok, email us any thoughts. Tell us the worst place you ever slept. I think that's a good question.
That is a good question.
And we'll see you out there, everybody. Thanks for listening.
Awesome.